Gold Squad TV. So I want to, first off, now that the shenanigans are over and all the BS is over from yesterday, I want to talk about Jayson Tatum's performance. And I want to say to Jayson Tatum, I'm extremely proud of you. Um, you played like the guy that I've been wanting to see for years, and you were unstoppable force. I still want to see that on the road. I want to see you put up 50 on the road. I want to see you, even if it's in a losing effort, I want to see you like really carry a team. Hopefully tomorrow you got one last bit of fighting because we all know the series is over tomorrow. That said, um, let's keep this real, man. Jason, I really love those fadeaways and those turnaround jumpers, and I love that. Keep doing you doing you, man. Like study off that Jordan guide, that Kobe Jordan guide of shots, and keep doing you and getting better, man. Now, as for the rest of the team, Marcus Smart's been kind of on and off for me. I like the way he played the last two games. He's played a lot more intelligent. Hasn't just jacked up shots for the sake of jacking up shots. I would love to see that more next year because I think the Celtics are ready to make him the starting point guard for good. I think Kemba's time is up. I think as much as I love Kemba and I love Kemba as a UConn guy, I think it's time for the divorce to happen. And I got love for Kemba. I really do. It just really hurts me to say that. He's a really positive guy, really good for the locker room. However, this team is not really a locker room issue at this point. It's just really more just we lack talent in other areas, and we really need to fill those areas. He's the only one that makes the most sense because he's going into an opt-out year, and we all know what happens with Danny after those opt-out years. He gets fucked over. Gordon Hayward left, especially after yesterday's nonsense. You pretty much probably know Kemba's going to be gone once the time comes to the opt out. He even opts in, it wouldn't even make sense for our team. You know what I mean? So unless he's willing to take less money, which will be more, he's making 141 right now. He really should be more around 75 mil at this point, based on the way he played this season. That said, that's a dramatic fall, but it's just he hasn't played up to par, and I just don't think it fits what we're trying to do. And it's nothing against him, but yes, Brad Stevens is really to blame for that, and a short season is really to blame for that. I think between Brad and a short season, um, no practices, it's just been shit for everyone. So I don't anticipate the Celtics team to be bad next year. I think we'll be a top 2, 3 seed. I don't think that's delusional to think. I think if we would have had Jaylen Brown and a fully healthy roster, a full health roster in a regular season, and a regular 82 game season, we're probably not even a seventh place team. But the what ifs are not the what ifs. The reality is what the reality is. Your record's what you are. We filled at that seventh spot, and we have to face the consequences for falling to seven. Um, that said, um, once the series is over tomorrow, I'm gonna be a lot more interested in the Celtics offseason moves. I think Jeremy Grant should be somebody that's on that radar. If you got to trade Kemba for Jeremy Grant, I do it in a heartbeat. I know a lot of y'all go, "It's not gonna happen." A lot of you guys are just negative Nancy's that don't know contracts, and don't know that teams are probably looking to dump salary. Like, okay, Detroit might have to take a salary, right? If they take Kemba's salary, they know Detroit's not winning anytime soon. So what Detroit's probably gonna look to do, have him for a year, he opts out, he's off their books. He's off their books, or you buy him out because he'll a lot of his guaranteed money will be gone after next season. Once his opt out year comes, he'll guaranteed money will be gone. It'll be almost pointless to keep him one more year unless Detroit wants to keep him one more. Maybe he has a great year for them. Um, who knows? I think Kemba's a guy that thrives well in a small pond. So if you're gonna tell me even with Kemba being hurt, even a hurt Kemba is still better than Jeremy Grant for the Detroit Pistons. Jeremy Grant's a better fit for what we're trying to do, and I think that would be a good trade for the Celtics going forward. Um, that said, you don't let go of Fournier. I know my boy was trying to disrespect Fournier, said he was worth about 10, 15 million. Listen, if you got to overpay for role players, it's just the way it works. You have to. You know, I don't think he's worth 10 to 15. I think he's worth at least 35, 40 at least. And this, I didn't agree with the whole inefficiency argument my man's trying to make earlier. If anything, he's been extremely efficient. He's just not efficient defensively at points in time. He's good and he's not. But he's also hasn't had a lot of time with the Celtics. And he's also coming from COVID and coming off of COVID, and probably not even 100%. If we're gonna give that same excuse to Tatum going through COVID, we need to use the same respect and have the same respectful excuse for the foreigner as well. That said, Evan, will be hopefully he'll be back. We will have another year with Naismith and Pritchard now being in the system, and they'll probably be a lot more valuable this year coming up versus the way they were in the playoffs this year, where they're not getting a lot of time. That said, we need some veterans on that bench. Um, you already made I think Time Lord needs to go. I don't care what he brings offensively, talent wise. I just think it's time. You can't afford to. If we're not going to keep Kemba, and Kemba's a much more talented offensive player than Time Lord ever would be. Time Lord's a more impactful player. However, if Time Lord can't stay healthy, what are we talking about here? There's nothing to talk about. It's not healthy. Why waste a spot? Why waste a roster spot when you can go and get a Miles Turner? This time maybe Danny does right now and go and gets Miles Turner. Because maybe, he go get somebody else. Maybe some of these names out there from other teams. I mean, Dwight Howard's going to be available. I know a lot of you guys don't like Dwight. However, Dwight Howard could give us what Robert Williams gives us at this point in his career. Probably not a little older, but Dwight's been very productive. He was really productive for Philly this year. He's real productive for the Lakers last year in a small role. And for all the flack he gets, he really's been showing up. He's understood and accepted his role as a role player. And I wouldn't mind having Dwight Howard come off the bench for the right price. You know what I mean? Hell, I wouldn't mind having him as a starter. Considering what the hell we have at center right now, I mean, I don't mind Tristan Thompson being a bench player, but I don't want him as a starter. He's a bench leader. I think he's a guy that comes off the bench, has experience. I like what he brings to the table, but he doesn't really do anything else. I also think that we should go after Aaron Baines in Toronto because he can stretch the floor and he can hit threes. He's a big body. Those are three guys the Celtics can look at for cheap. But I think Time Lord has to go if he's not going to stay healthy. I'm sorry. It's just this. Listen, I don't do the what ifs. I don't do I think with the Time Lord, he's going to go down as one of the biggest what ifs. I don't do what ifs. I'm about what I see on the court. And yes, although he played well this year, he can't stay on the court. I'm sorry, he's taking up a roster spot. I get tired of people falling and getting attached to players that are not necessarily worthy of being on a team because of their health. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about what he brings to the table. If he can't stay healthy, what are we talking about? All right. I know he gutted it out. I know he tried to gut it out. He just couldn't stay healthy. He's just doubtful. How many more of these times we're gonna go to this with him? I don't care if he's young. We don't got time. We have a window of about 4 years. Jaylen Brown and JT's windows are 4 or 5 years respectively. We cannot afford to have them go into free agency because we decided to keep Time Lord who couldn't stay healthy and sign him to a big deal or a mediocre deal. And then he outplays that deal and he gets hurt whenever we need him. We need bench help. Langford could go. I'm sorry, he could go. I don't mind seeing him go. He should go in one of those trades. I think Grant Williams should go. It's been nice knowing you, but they don't bring any. They take Carson Edwards and Trey Waters are afterthoughts. Ojale, bye bye, we don't need you. I think it says a lot that Brad's playing Naismith, even though he's a rookie, he's playing Naismith a lot more than Ojale. That pretty much probably tells you that Danny's probably letting Brad know, yo, we need to see what Naismith has. We don't have time to be putting Ojale out there. He's pretty much what you get from Ojale at this point. So we have about 5 or 6 roster spots, excluding Taco Falls. I think we're always going to keep Taco for Super G. We have 4 or 5 roster spots. We need to figure out where those 4 or 5 roster spots on the bench and 1 roster spot in the starting lineup. How are we going to fill those spots? And how are we going to construct these? How are we going to construct a roster around JB and JT? And if you want to put Marcus in there, if you want to keep Marcus, I'm not the biggest Marcus fan, but you want to keep Marcus, that's fine. I mean, that's what you want to do. You think it'll be a great story considering we drafted him, and he was the dude to set it off before we ended up getting Brown and Tatum. I mean, that's fine, but I'm all about I feel like we need to fill spots and put value in those spots, and we cannot afford to have injury-prone players on the team. The teams that are winning right now don't have injury-prone players on the team. Philly's winning right now. They don't got injury-prone guys outside of Embiid, who every now and then gets hurt. They don't have an injury-prone bench, all right? You've seen what they do. I'm not even going to mention the Nets because I can't stand them. But you look at the other teams in the East and the West, those teams don't have depleted benches. We have a depleted fucking bench, and we've been at a depleted bench this whole season. So we need to fix those problems. That said, I'm not calling for Brad to get fired. I'm done with the whole Brad Stevens stuff. At some point somebody will actually start listening. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I kind of feel like as much as I hate his stupid substitution patterns and his lack of feel, I think he's finally understood to let Jayson Tatum take over games. I'm hoping he does the same with Jaylen Brown when he comes back. These guys are your stars. You're not building around role players, man. You need to this is the alpha male game. You need to put those alpha males out there and have them take over games and have the role players play with them. Stylistically, he just needs some. Brad's just got to make tweaks to his system. Probably not going to do it, but he needs to make tweaks to his system if they want to win. Also, I didn't mention Al Horford's out there too. He might get bought out. Hey, you're going to sign him for cheap. Give him a 2-year deal. I would do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. But, I'm really more interested in what we're going to do in the offseason at this point. We also got the draft. We got the 16th pick in the first round. We also got Yam Vador, who's playing overseas. I don't know if he's going to come. I don't know how good he really is. I know in overseas he looks good, but the NBA is a different game. We just need to have a deeper bench of veterans, a mix of veterans and young players. And we need to, I think that will be fine. That we need a stretch 5. We need a stretch 5. We need a stretch 5 and a physical 5 to spell Thompson. So you got a stretch 5 to start. Then you got a guy that can take a lot of pressure off of Thompson. When Thompson's getting into foul trouble, get a guy like Dwight Howard. Relatively cheap deals. We just need to nip those little things and re-sign Foreigner, man. Pay him his money. You're not going to pay him 120. No, you're not going to do nothing like that. But you pay him around 35, 40 mil, maybe even 50. I'm cool. On that number. Gold Squad TV. Leave your comments below. And by the way, too, before I even get I'm not the biggest Danny Ainge fan in the world. Everybody knows that. But I think Danny's getting a little too much flack for this roster. Considering the lack of practice time, the lack of practice for a lot of teams, and how young that bench is. Danny was kind of dealt a bad hand when I don't feel sorry for him in the sense where he blew the Miles Turner deal and got a little too greedy, but I do feel for him in the sense to where we had a short ass off season, really didn't have a lot of time, to make moves the way a lot of other teams who probably were sitting down and probably, willing to give a little more money, considering we had such an off season that really wasn't eventful all season. Some of those losing teams were willing to give more money. See what happened. Jeremy Grant got paid in Detroit. You know what I mean? He's not worth the money he's getting paid, but those teams were willing to give larger contracts and players they're probably going to end up dealing later on to get better deals. So we'll see what happens, man. But all I'm gonna tell you is I think we'll be back with a vengeance next year. I think Jalen's gonna come back motivated. He's gonna come back a much better player. And I think this season, despite how bad it's been, has made those guys stronger, and it will show. But I think we need to learn to say goodbye to Kimba. It's been nice. It's been nice knowing you, and it's cool. But he just hasn't showed up, and it's just at some point got to look at what's better for the team. Gold Squad TV. Leave your comments down below. Um, Celtics. Hopefully they make some moves.